Okay.
Look what I got for you, Ter. I'm taping right. I look at it because I don't know. You see this?
Oh my God. Where can I get one of those?
Like the Disney store, order them online. I know you love Datsuns, correct? Am I right?
Yeah, how did you know that? Because you always see my dachshunds online?
Yeah, and my favorite dog, it's Slinky Dog from Toy Story.
Oh my
So
God.
I have
But
our whole house is Slinky Dog, my shirts. I was gonna wear one.
oh my God. Show me the first one again.
Sure. So this is the kind of the original. This you can maybe even find at a toy store sometimes.
But it's a Disney thing?
Yeah, this is Slinky the dog from Toy Story. This
Oh,
is kind of this is who hangs out with Woody and Buzz. He's the dog.
I'm going to order one, try to find one as soon as we get off this call, man. Those are awesome, dude. Those are awesome.
These are awesome. I love these guys. So everything my kids collect with me is Slinky. Everything.
Oh, how cool is that, man? How cool is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to Rich. Thanks, man, for inviting me. This is fantastic.
Thank you, man. I got some things I want to go through with you.
Yeah, man, I'm ready for you. I just let you know I either put on or attend or whatever. 1 to 2 Zoom calls a day for the last 3 weeks. So I'm really good at Zoom calls. So whatever you need, I'm here for you.
Yeah,
I'm very comfortable with it.
I don't want to be a pain in the ass either, where you get to the position where it becomes like a Q&A thing.
I don't care, man.
No, I'm going to tell you right now. So when we did the Prism show, when I met you for the first time,
yeah,
I've literally been to 100 conventions and seminars throughout my life.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Starting at like 7 years old, because my father owned a bar and nightclub. So in Chicago, I'd be going to the McCormick Place, mainly for food and beverage. And then he ended up going into the vending business. So that started at about 13 years old. And then me living in Orlando, Florida, spending a lot of time in Vegas, you're always going to conventions because they kind of really took over. But when I saw you at Prism, and I've seen a lot of guys talk, you have a suaveness. You're laid back. You're chilled. I don't care what age you are in the room. You're very captivating.
Oh my God! Well, didn't you do some acting
when I was younger, and then I made 2 films.
Yeah. I thought so. Well, coming from an actor, that means a lot to me. It's like, hey, you've got a little bit of that Z factor going there. Thank you for saying that.
Seriously, because the only reason when you go to certain shows, you get a list of who's speaking, and what caught my attention with you was LinkedIn.
Yeah,
because I like LinkedIn the best.
Oh yeah.
Personally.
It's a little bit different than Facebook and Instagram and Snap, and Facebook, but it's my favorite app. I've been hanging around with, I've been involved with LinkedIn for 12 years now, I guess. And I like it, Rich, because it never changes. In terms of, yes, you click in a different place where there's some certain features, but still it's all about B2B networking, which is what I'm all about,
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to ask you was why, truthfully, I love MySpace because I was making films back then.
Yeah.
And then they would allow you to put clips up there and things in that nature. And then when that was going down, I was actually very frustrated because I really started to build a big following on that. Within the film community. And all of a sudden, it's not hip, and kind of Facebook came in. And I wasn't at that point in time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start Facebook. Then that's going to aggravate me. That's going to eventually weed out. Then I'm going to jump on what? There was nothing else. I mean, Twitter was out there. And my cousin said, Rich, tried LinkedIn. And you wouldn't think, because me kind of making films and doing photos, you would think I would like maybe Insta better or maybe even Facebook.
Yeah.
But when I saw LinkedIn, for some reason, and believe me, I'm not a corporate guy by any means, I love the platform of the way that was laid out.
Yeah. I think what's great about LinkedIn, it's kind of about no nonsense, right? With Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter and Instagram, you got to scroll, and if you're on your digital phone, through a lot of stuff before you find something you find of value. Whereas I think LinkedIn, if you're putting content on LinkedIn that's of little or no value, people will unfollow you. They'll unconnect with you. So it's more of a business platform that I think people use to really help each other. whereas Facebook's more about having fun, and certainly Instagram. That's why, Facebook purchased Instagram, just because I think it ties into their model so well. Yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to learn and connect, and I really, really like it. It's getting, with the CV-19, coronavirus hitting here, Rich. It's really interesting because I'm seeing a lot of personal stuff because people are at home,
Sure.
So I'm cutting them some slack, but at some point we're going to have to go back to, the real business objective of LinkedIn, and that is to connect with people, develop rapport, and then eventually take your online discussion offline, which is what you're very good at, my friend.
What made you though think that? Because you gear a lot of your company around LinkedIn, and you legit are a LinkedIn guru. Did you have the foresight to say this is going to be long lasting, or were you just like, this one resonates with me a lot better than the other because maybe Insta could be too young of a crowd, or even Facebook or Twitter wasn't enough on one end? How did you end up really committing to that?
Well, two things. Number one, I worked for a little company, Rich, called Verizon, right, for 14 years. And so I was an executive director there of marketing. And I love marketing. I love brand. I love strategy. All that stuff really gets me juiced up. And so in 2010, I refused to move to Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I stayed here in Las Colinas.
Okay.
And so as a result, myself, along with 27,000 other professionals, were laid off from Verizon. And so then what happened was I just, it was during the Great Recession. There were no jobs for anybody. So every day I would meet with 1 to 3 people, 5-6 days a week, and I would help. I think one year in 2010, I think I helped over 300 people create brands that led to get them getting jobs. And so then what happened is when they got jobs, this thing called LinkedIn, people were kind of like, what do I do with this from a business perspective? Do you know anybody? These people that I helped get jobs would be at a company, and the CEO or somebody in marketing or whatever would say, do you know somebody who knows LinkedIn? Yeah, Terry Sullivan helped me get this job. Call him. And so next thing you know, I started monetizing it. I'll never forget. I helped a lady, Lisa Woodward. She was unemployed for a long period of time, and I helped her land a job with Transamerica out in Los Angeles. And she became their chief marketing officer, CMO. And she called me up, and she said, "Hey, Terry, this is Lisa. Just want to let you know you helped me land a great job, CMO with Transamerica." I said, "Holy crap, congratulations." And she said, "No, it's payback time." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, I'm bringing in Transamerica's 1,200 largest clients, and I want you to train them all on LinkedIn." So there I was, getting on a plane. My wife and we ended up on the Jimmy Kimmel show. I can tell you all about that. And then I presented to 1,200 plus people out in LA, and they all own companies like you, Rich, right? They all own their own businesses. And then when I got home, my digital phone was maxed out. I got many, many, many new clients. My effort just mushroomed. I said, you know what? I'm having a good time. I'm not going back into the corporate world. I'm going to start my own business, and I'm going to call it BuzzPro. And to this very day, I went to San Francisco right before coronavirus hit, and about a month or two before. And I got a client out there, a big insurance agency, and that person who owned that agency had been sitting in my audience at that Transamerica presentation back in 2011. So that's kind of how it all evolved. I started helping people. I was bored. There were no jobs. It was during recession. Yeah. And then next thing you know, it just mushroomed. And I haven't looked back, Rich. I love what I do. I love it.
Yeah, and you're great at what the hell you do. Let's call it for what it is. So,
well, thank you.
You almost became, not that you're a recruiter, but you kind of help people become their own recruiters for themselves through LinkedIn. Wouldn't you say that's something similar to what you do?
Yeah, it's very interesting you should say that, because I gave a presentation to 150 people last week, a big Zoom call. And then I was talking to all the Dallas CPA Society, and I said, you guys are, I know you're CPAs. Many of you are looking for work. Many of you are own your own business and CPA firms, that kind of thing. I said, but remember, whether you're looking for a job or you're looking for clients, we are all salespeople. And of course, somebody, a CPA said, well, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a CPA. I said, are you looking for a job? And this guy said, yes. I said, well, good luck with that strategy, right? So the point is that whether you're looking for a job, Rich, or you're
Sure.
looking for clients, it's all about finding and connecting and developing relationships, as you so very well know with your business, with your key contacts and prospects.
Yeah.
And I call that social selling, but the ironic thing is you never sell on LinkedIn. If I present to a lot of real estate companies all over the country, and I'm like, do not post any properties in my newsfeed, right? I know I've got 18,000 followers, connections, but first level connects. But if I see it, I'm going to unfollow you. And as soon as I get back to my LinkedIn profile, there's 20 listings there. So the point is that social selling is all about really utilizing LinkedIn to find and connect and develop relationships with your key contacts and prospects. And as a LinkedIn user, you have to develop trust and rapport over a period of time. It's not a quick sell. As a matter of fact, you never sell on LinkedIn. If you do, like those realtors do, people will unfollow you, they'll unconnect with you, or worse off, they will block you. But I will tell you, Rich, that eventually you do need to pick up the phone and call people. And, as a matter of fact, as soon as possible, I'm a big LinkedIn guy, but just as soon as possible, you need to take your online discussion offline. That's where the real magic happens. Nothing happens until, you have these type of conversations, as you so very well know. So because you're so very good at this, Rich.
No. Well, I realize I made so many mistakes over the years with LinkedIn. And I think one of the things a lot of people make a mistake is they connect with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you immediately flood them and say, hey, I can help you, right?
Yeah.
Or, hey, can you do this for me? Or I can do this for you, and vice versa. And you don't even know the person.
Yeah.
And you don't know any better, I think, a lot of times, especially when I first was on 10, 12 years ago. I don't even know. It's been a while. When you're in the film industry, you're trying to make all these contacts. And what was very unique about LinkedIn was, wow, I can really reach out to a guy possibly who works at a studio or who is very well known in the industry, and I actually can meet him. Or before, back to MySpace, you or wherever, you'd have to find someone's email. You went in spam, they never returned your email. Where now you had a network or a social network where I can reach him, and then you almost wanted to immediately show him what you were about, right?
Yeah.
And I realized over the years that's the worst thing. What you got to do is obviously build a relationship. That's it. And build a trust with the person, and not always want from somebody, and kind of what you can offer in the sense of not saying, hey, this is what I have to offer you, but hey, if you ever need anything, or if you ever need to connect with anybody, I'm here for you. Or, I loved hooking up with a lot of authors that I was reading their books. I'd be like, I read your book. I love it. I wasn't pitching for them to read my book, but it was a great way to and before you know it, you're having lunch with them or you're having dinner with them.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Well, just what I learned, the lesson I learned with digital, right? Digital marketing and just digital communications is people don't care about what you're selling or about what you want or what you do until they figure out how much you care, right?
Yes.
And we are being bombarded, Rich, with marketing messages as we drive down the road, or we watch TV, or we get on the computer, and all the social media platforms, every one of them, they all sell ads, so you're getting, pay-per-click ads. So we're all bombarded, and plus we don't trust what we see anymore. So much stuff that we see online is lies or untruths,
Yeah.
So really, I call it social selling. It's a 4-step process, but really, it's all about number one, being strategic with who you connect with, right? So don't just if you want to connect with people in your industry or people that could be potential prospects, be strategic about it. Learn how to use Boolean searches to do that. Once they connect with you, send a personalized, templated connection request. Hey, Rich, have you ever gotten a connection request from someone? They go, hey, Rich, I took a look at your profile. Looks like you have a really interesting background. Let's get connected.
Yeah.
Do you think for a second they looked at your profile?
No, of course not.
But if I say, hey, Rich, I see you're connected with Terry Sullivan. We both went to the University of Southern Oklahoma, and we both have a real passion, for for Connex, or what have you. I'm going to connect with you because you've taken the time to learn more about me. So the first step is you want to learn. You want to send a personalized connection request. The second step is the first step is you find people you want to connect with using Boolean searches. Then you send a personalized connection request. But the third thing that nobody does, Rich, that just amazes me, is when someone connects with you, everybody just says, accept, and they just go on their merry way. Well, start building that rapport right away.
Absolutely.
And what you want to do is send always, from this point forward,
Personal.
I hope your audience send a thank you for connecting note.
Absolutely.
With a gift, right?
Yeah.
And so what's a gift? A gift could be a link to one of your blog posts that you've written, a video that you've shot, or just something that they're going to find of use. And just ask them what they think about it, but don't ever try to sell them anything right away. I personally, I don't know about you, Rich, but I've got a whole criteria of things I look at before I connect with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But if I connect with someone, they immediately start bombarding me with sales messages. I usually just block them or unconnect with them immediately. But
yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they go on any type of social media platform, they have an agenda where it's either they want to be a collector, they want to make as many contacts as possible, right? You got those people. Then you got the people that also are I call them kind of karma networkers, where we kind of all come together. We want to build relationships, and by doing that too, it could be even when you're on LinkedIn, you see they posted something, maybe sharing it, making a positive comment, possibly. If you like it, if you don't like it, just move on.
Right.
But you kind of have all these different people doing different things, I think, on social media, and you don't always know what their agenda is, right?
Yeah.
Just LinkedIn too, right? You don't know. Are they artists? Are they genuine?
Well, that's what you have to be kind of, as you're creating your brand on LinkedIn, you have to kind of be careful, right? Because, if you have a brand that says, I am the #1 sales producer for XYZ insurance company, no one's going to connect with you because they know what you're up to, right? They know that you're going to try to sell them insurance. Sure. So really you need to create a servant leader kind of branding headline and a servant leader brand. Tell people, what your passion is and how you like helping and connecting with people. Because if people start selling you right away, as you mentioned, Rich, and if they have ulterior motives, people are going to pick up on that immediately. And so they'll unconnect with you or unfollow you altogether or block you if they really get mad at you. I unconnect or block about 1 to 5 people a month.
Yeah.
And I look to see, I get many connection requests a day, but I'll look to see, do they have a LinkedIn profile photo? If no, I'm like, what's wrong? What are they trying to hide? Do they have a summary section written about themselves that kind of tells their story? If not, I'm like, why? But if they don't have those two things, but then I see that we're both connected to you, Rich, or that I can recognize some mutual connections, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But if they immediately start hitting me with sales messages, I unconnect with them or I block them because I just don't have. It's kind of like LinkedIn. You want to just kind of create a strategy that kind of works the same way. It would work if you were going to a networking group. If I went to a Connex networking event with you, and I saw you, for the first time, I would reach out and say, "Hey, Rich, my name's Terry Sullivan," and I would start showing an interest in you.
Yep.
I wouldn't say, "Hey, Rich, I'm Terry Sullivan. Buy my marketing products or services." So I would try to find out more about you and develop that rapport, and then ease into discussions about how I might be able to help. And that's the same thing you want to do on LinkedIn.
When you were speaking at Prism, I got to say, you were so genuine. And what was different about you, I think, one is the way you dealt with the people asking the questions.
Right.
Even after them, a lot of times you're like, listen, if you want to go through something like that, I'll give you an hour of my time. Or you can give me a call. I promise I'll go through that with you. Yeah. But you genuinely were going through the crowd and trying to do your best to help everyone.
Yeah.
Which I found absolutely unique, because a lot of guys, when they do public speaking, they're blowing right through everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? They got their
Right.
PowerPoints, they're going. And I was kind of blown away by that. Did you teach yourself that? I mean, or was that just because or is it
Well,
just genuine?
well, Rich, and first of all, I remember that presentation. Although it was years ago, I remember you sat in the front row and you really made a big impression on me. I said, "There's someone I have to get to know," because there was like a row of blank seats behind you. I said, "I like this guy," and I don't know if you remember, but I went up and shook your hand. I said, "Thanks for sitting in the front row," you know. But here's the thing, like you, Rich, I've been to so many presentations, and 99.9% of them, I'm just tremendously disappointed, because they talk about, you know, these high level topics. You know, here's what you can do with LinkedIn. Oh, yeah, well, tell me where to click. You know, tell me what to do. And it got really frustrating to me. So number one, I give it all away. Right? I mean, when you go to one of my presentations, instead of giving you 5 nuggets of information an hour, I'll give you 5 nuggets every 3 minutes. You know, I mean, I wear out my audiences, and people are like, "Oh, it's too much information." Well, my audiences are very diverse. Some of them are like yourself, a big digital media person, someone who truly understands digital marketing, that kind of thing, and others can barely log into LinkedIn. So I try to give a lot of content. Some of it's lower level kind of stuff, and some of it is way in advance. And that, Rich, is really, most people don't get that. You know, a lot of presenters want to hide their content. You know, they don't want to tell you where to click and how to do things. That's not me. I just give it away. And I figure, you know, so number one, in terms of my passion and your question about that, I have a passion for truly training people the way I want to be trained. Right?
It shows.
Absolutely. And then secondly, I think if I can be so candid, Rich, to say, you know, when I lost my job in 2010, it was a shocker for me.
Right.
I was made the Leadership Circle Awards the last 4 years. I was with the company, which goes out to the top 1/2 of 1%, which, you know, for 223 employees in a company, that's a big deal. And I just, you know, I didn't move up north, and I, you know, didn't have the visibility, and boom, up next thing you know, I'm on the streets during a recession. So it kind of humbled me, right? It really said, you know, hey, this hurts. And so I saw people, hundreds of people around me who were hurting. And I said, let me help you with your pain. And it helped me with my pain. And so as a result, you know, I helped many, you know, people unconditionally. And then they landed. And then a really, you know, like I said, the interesting thing that came out of that is the next thing you know, I'm getting company presentation gigs, and you know, making a living doing this. And so I thought, I saw the reward both internally and externally that I could receive from helping people unconditionally. And that's why, like, I'm giving 2 Zoom presentations a day, every day, just so I can help as many people who are now being displaced. Like, for example, last week, I gave a presentation to MPI, which is Meeting Planners International. And, you know, there's a bunch of people on there. The hospitality industry took a big hit. And I could just see by the faces on, you know, my screen, the look of shock, you know, because these sales leaders who spent a year trying to get some big convention at their hotel is now, you know, that hotel or that convention is now canceled. So, to answer your question in a very long about way, Rich, I have a passion. I think it's just part of me. That just to be kind of a servant leader and help others. And I, you know, honestly, I don't really care if I get paid or get rewarded or not. I just kind of have this feeling that, you know, what goes around comes around. And if I help a lot of people, maybe something good will happen back to me. That's kind of how I work it.
Yeah. And when we were at Prism, you didn't know this, but, you know, you have all, you know, there was all different age demographics there. You got guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, literally 60s, 70s, because it's maintenance and facility.
Yeah.
And a lot of it deals with retail and many different things. So you have all these different ages.
Right.
What I loved about you, and we talked about even some of the people that went, you weren't there, is like, it didn't matter if they were 20, 30, 50, 60, everyone related to you, man. It wasn't like a lot of times if you go to a seminar and it's a young guy and they're acting much more intelligent than the rest of the crowd, which we get, and they're fast and they're sharp and they know technology a lot better than everybody basically in the audience, right?
Right.
And sometimes you have somebody older and they're kind of pitchy and they sound like a car salesman. It doesn't sound like they know what they're talking about. They're a little outdated, kind of full of shit. And then you're kind of like, okay, you've been doing this PowerPoint for 25 years, right? You're kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But in your case, you were so, I guess you could say hip when you were talking, you were relevant to everyone on LinkedIn. And it wasn't somebody too talking about somebody that, just like back to car salesman. If you go talk to somebody in a car salesman, you know, the guy who's, let's hypothetically say middle-aged in the 70s, he has a style, and then you go meet a guy who's 20 years old who's selling a car. It's two different ones. Did you, you've been in marketing for so long. Did you master that, like going through that, or is
Not
it
really
natural?
Yeah. I'll be very candid with you, Rich. I was in corporate America my whole career, and it really wasn't a good fit for me. I didn't really care for the politics of it all. I didn't really thrive in it. I mean, I got promoted and I moved my way up and that kind of thing, and I made really good money. But I honestly, I didn't really enjoy it, and I think what happens now is I truly enjoy what I do. It's the best of all worlds. I help people. Sometimes I get paid. I get to travel around the country. For example, last year when I was an executive director at Verizon, I never had. I don't, know what your work situation was like before you owned your own company, but I never took vacations. I just worked all the time and long hours. And so my kids I have two kids, and they grew up and I never got to see them. And, but last year, I got, 4 big corporate gigs. I got more than that, but I took my whole family and my in-laws to Chicago, to New York, to Denver, and then also San Francisco. All expenses paid, on me.
Yeah.
And so I took my kids, and there we were, on Haight-Ashbury, downtown San Fran, looking at all the hippies and stuff. I mean, it was just, I'm trying to play catch up for all those years. I just worked my ass off, if I can say that.
Sure, for sure.
In the corporate world. So I wasn't a really good fit in the corporate world. I just, I worked very hard, but then at the same time, I got promoted, I got rewarded, and that kind of thing. But it just wasn't near as fulfilling as this. I got to meet you, Rich, and I get to know people I would never have met you before. And you're a fascinating guy. You've been an actor. You own your own company. You do, video work. You're a social media guy. I mean, whereas in Verizon, I'm sure there are some really interesting people there, but it seemed like everyone was focused on the mothership. And so I didn't get to know people as deeply as I do with me running my own company.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you just think you're just going to carry on with LinkedIn? Do you think you're going to go other directions? Because you are a very well-known public speaker. I mean, you could just tell after I've known you over the years, you're just growing
thank you.
At a much bigger pace than I think most public speakers. So truthfully, starting from where you started from to where you are now.
Thank you. I'm very, very, very fortunate. Most of the gigs I get, Rich, are just people that I've helped for free referring me. It's kind of funny the way that works, but I love LinkedIn. I think it's here to stay for me. I will tell you that social selling also works with the other streams, Facebook and Instagram, that kind of thing. I bought my wife a business downtown Grapevine on Main Street, and so I'm helping. I help her with social selling and developing rapport with her key clients there, and using Facebook and Instagram, that kind of thing. But I think that I have a real passion. LinkedIn is just a good fit for me, and I think that it really helps me meet some amazing. I could tell you one story after another, meeting just some amazing people that I after I'm done working with them, I go, wow. I work with. I could tell you one example after another, but I'm currently working with Nigel Thurler, right? And he's from England, and he is the chief agile officer for a little company that just moved their headquarters here in Plano called Toyota. And so he reported to the domestic CEO of Toyota. And I mean, Nigel, and he's writing a book for Toyota called Flow, which is going to kind of replace Lean, Six Sigma, kind of, sort of. Lean is all about manufacturing, but Flow is going to be for both process for service industry as well as manufacturing. And he's just fascinating to me. I mean, he's from England, he misses England, lives up in Celenza, and so he paid $3,000 to have an English telephone booth, one of those red telephone booths, moved to his home, put it in his driveway, and he's the only person in the country that has an English telephone booth that's active. So I can go to his telephone booth, and if I have a phone number, I can call anyone in the country of England. I mean, just stuff like that. Just fascinating to me. Just really interesting guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, we both were connected even on Facebook, and obviously you have Twitter, Insta, and what do you think works tandem kind of well with LinkedIn? Because I use Facebook strictly for family members and friends, truthfully, or colleagues, close colleagues. LinkedIn's probably where I'm personally at the most. Don't know why. I'm not an Instagram person where everybody always gets aggravated and said, Rich, you are the perfect guy with photos and film and video, and Twitter as well, as you know. I'm okay with Twitter. I just post kind of links up there. What do you think works well with, because some people just don't want to be LinkedIn. Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah, right.
What do you think works well with the other?
Well, it's all about if you own a business, it's all about where your prospects and customers or clients hang out, right? Sure. So, I present to many, probably 20 to 30 real estate groups a year. Got one coming up in the next couple of weeks. And they're all on Facebook and Instagram, right? And they post a lot of pictures of property and that kind of thing. So really it just depends on, in terms of what social media platforms you should focus on. And then also, if you are B2B, then LinkedIn's your place, right? And that explains why I think you have such an affinity for LinkedIn, because your business is business to business. Now, I'm like you. I also use Facebook, my profile, just for friends and families, and we're connected. It's people I know pretty well. And I have a Facebook business page that I post to, and then I also have an Instagram account and that kind of thing. And of course, Twitter. But most of the other streams, my clients, some of the main people I work with are C-level professionals from Fortune 500 companies, that kind of thing. So they're not really on Facebook. They're barely on LinkedIn. They're certainly not on Instagram, and Twitter they don't get. So, but But the thing is that if you are in a position of of awareness, or if you have a service-oriented company, you have to have a presence on all of them, right? And you don't have to have a big daily play on some of those other streams, but you have to have a Twitter account, you have to have a Facebook business page and an Instagram account for reconnaissance purposes. So people will go out and check you out. It's very interesting. I posed this question. I consult with 3 companies that are recruitment agencies. So I teach their recruiters how to find candidates. And I asked them, I said, hey, I know you guys are using LinkedIn to source candidates. I said, but do you guys also go out to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to check things out? And they all said, well, we have a policy against it. We're not supposed to do it, but we do it anyways. So they're going to Facebook to check me out, and if I don't have they're going to say, what's wrong with this guy? They might even land on my profile because I haven't ratcheted up the security settings, so they'll be able to see my family if they want, what have you. So so the moral of the story is that you should use a social media platform that best represents your brand and best suits your audience, which should be your clients and prospects if you own a business. And so if you're B2C, you have to be on Facebook, I would say, and certainly Instagram. If you're B2B, you better have a big LinkedIn play. But again, I would try to have a presence on all platforms. just because they'll go out to Instagram to check you out. They'll go out to Facebook to check out your posts on your Facebook page and that kind of thing. And the other thing I'll just say here is try to use technology to make the whole process simple. So, for example, I absolutely love Agora Pulse, Pulse, Agora Pulse, and it's not cheap, but it's kind of like Hootsuite or on steroids, and it has a social media inbox. Right. And so within 5-10 minutes, I'm done with all of my follow up with all of the comments and questions people are asking me on any one of my social media platforms, including YouTube. So you got a process that's going to make the whole social media thing simple and short. Otherwise, it will consume you. As a matter of fact, I tell my audiences, don't spend more than 15 to 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn more than 30 minutes a day, you're wasting your time. You should be picking up the phone and calling people, and start developing that rapport verbally.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like LinkedIn because it's what people are posting is very interesting to me, because the people I'm connecting with, I find quite interesting in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Say on Facebook, Instagram, or other areas, they're a lot of nonsense. And I hate to say it, even political or negativity and all that. Not saying that LinkedIn sometimes doesn't get negative, but it gets cluttered with a lot of things. They're my family members and friends. Also, it becomes a little redundant. Yeah. I catch myself spending way more time now, selfish reasons, posting things. It could be a podcast, a YouTube video. I found that worked out for me better than me just being a visitor to the site.
Yeah.
And
I think great.
Yeah,
I think you're educating people, right, Rich? I mean, you're helping them learn something new, right?
I want to. I don't mind putting a photo up on Facebook or Instagram once in a while, or you make it a tweet or sharing something or retweeting. But I realized after a while, especially family or friends, you know what I mean? I kind of know what religion you are. I know where you stand politically. I know who you hate, right? You're kind of exhausted. I'm learning nothing. It's like I'm reading it's not even gossip, but it'd be like reading People magazine every time I'm on Facebook. I said, let me reverse this.
Yeah.
Let me flip it and kind of show you what I think should be shown, more or less, for selfish reasons.
I love it.
Yeah. That was my, and with LinkedIn, here's something I did. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I realized at the beginning it wasn't necessarily, I was connecting pretty well, because when you're in the film industry, everybody wants to know kind of the guy who makes movies, right? And then I wrote a book, and everybody's like, oh, he's a certified author, which is kind of a lot of nonsense a little bit.
Right.
Because I was an indie filmmaker, and I basically self-published my first book. It wasn't, but the way people perceive it. But what I realized when I was connecting is I said, let me try the president of this company or the VP here or someone, or even if I don't, do anything with them in the future. And I realized the higher first I thought they would never accept me, and they were all accepting me. And I was like, hey, very nice to meet you. It could be the president of Adidas. I'd be like, hey, I love you. My daughter loves your brand, and blah, blah, blah. It could be the VP of Chanel. It could be all these different people within the industry.
Yeah.
And before you know it, then anybody underneath them, for the most part, that I ever wanted to connect with, I connected, because once they kind of seen I was connected with somebody kind of in a higher level than them, they very seldom would reject me, which I found was kind of me just testing the waters, doing certain things like that. But then on the flip side, because I got like over 6,000 members, and truly I am not a collector of LinkedIn.
Right.
It started to snowball the other way. I think people don't realize when you start connecting with a certain amount of people at a certain level, others see who you're connected with.
Right.
And they want to connect with you, so maybe they can connect with the higher up as well, or at least be in the realm.
Right. No, that's exactly right, Rich. I mean, I think I think you're a natural. I think LinkedIn's a perfect fit for you, right? I think you're a consummate business professional. At the same time, you understand the need to build trust and rapport with people. You're very, very good at it. But some people, especially if I can be candid, a lot of job seekers, they just find a recruiter's profile, click connect, and then they wonder why no one's connecting with them.
Yeah.
I guarantee you the recent CEO of Nike or whoever has been connecting with you, which is pretty remarkable.
Adidas. I think it was
Adidas.
I got a bunch.
Yeah. I guarantee you're personalizing that connection request. One of my clients recently said, I'd really like to work for this company here called Borden Milk. I said, you mean Borden the cow?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. I said, well, let's put together this message and let's reach out to the CEO and see if he'll connect with you.
Yeah.
And so what happened was my client he did some research. He found out that they have a new CEO and that he was, this was the new direction he was going in. And so my client referenced that in his connection message. He said, hey, I see this is your strategy. You're new to the company. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And that CEO connected with him. Yeah. And he said, give me a call next week. I want to learn more about you.
Yeah. And
how about that? CEO of Borden.
Yeah. When I was, my girlfriend works for Sephora. So I said, let me reach out to the president of Sephora. What the hell do I got to lose? And she would take photos with him. I'm like, I hear all these positive things about him all the time. I'm like, why wouldn't I want to be connected with this guy? So he ended up connecting with me. And then he left Sephora. Now he's with Lululemon. So what's funny is I do a lot of stuff with Lululemon. I do virtual tours all over the country for them. So now he's looking at all the work I'm doing. If he's, if it ever reaches him, which I think it may, because it's all the stores all over the country. But to make a long story short is a lot of times you don't realize too, the people you're connecting with, they're moving to different places and you're kind of moving with them, right? You're they're evolving, but you're evolving with them too, just like anything else in life, which I always found quite interesting because how many people keep their jobs for over 5-10 years now? Not
these days. Not these days.
Right. So they go there and, anyways, I think that's very unique. If you have 5,000 connections and in 5 years, 2,000 move to another company, you're actually connected to that company as well. You kind of flowed with them and you can interest them or not. But yeah, that's, what do you think? What was the one question I had for you? Do you think the way things are going now from the standpoint of, say, us doing Zoom, and just kind of being with podcasts, us being able to reach each other on a much different level than just say it first started off with an email. Then we had social media networks like LinkedIn, Facebook. Now kind of we're Zooming. Yeah. Do you think something like LinkedIn can become outdated hypothetically? Or we'll be able to kind of slowly but surely connect much easier and almost not have to, like we're doing this, I don't even have to meet you for a meeting, right? Before with a podcast, I'd have to meet you and now I can do this.
I think this coronavirus issue has really changed the face of business, throughout the world. Just for example, when I would work with my clients individually, I've been meeting at a Starbucks over here at the Grapevine, near the Grapevine Mills Mall for 10 years. Yeah, I've been going there forever. And I got to say, I love Starbucks.
Me too.
But I love Zoom more, right? And so, now I'm casual. I'm at home, and if I want to work with my client, if I need to get a drink of water or something, it's no big deal. And I don't have blenders going in the background. And so I will tell you that my business has dramatically changed. And when I work with my individual clients, unless they are technology challenged, Rich, I will always do a Zoom call. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then in terms of LinkedIn, no way will Microsoft be second to anybody. Microsoft owns LinkedIn, and a day doesn't go by I don't notice some kind of change. Like, I did a share request or a share introduction this morning, and boom, there's a blank field now where I can put that second person's name in the to line. I'm like, wow, there you go. So every day they're changing something. So I think Microsoft LinkedIn will do everything they can to stay forefront, and they have a lot of other features. If they see like a competitor like Facebook picking up some kind of feature, they'll replicate it. So like Facebook, for the longest time, you could send voice messages on Facebook, and now LinkedIn, you can send a voice message instead of having it tap into a message. So I think it's going to continue to evolve. I don't think LinkedIn's going to become obsolete. I don't see anything that, every second, click, there's 2 new users signing up for LinkedIn. They have over 500 million users. It's growing. You should see the growth curve.
Yeah.
Rich, it's crazy. And I've never, ever, I've been doing this for many years, and I've never seen it flatten out. It's just like a rocket ship, and I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah, and I was just at my buddy's real estate office, and it's funny. He goes, I said, nobody comes to the office. Nobody wants to do real estate. They want to go to Starbucks, right? And he's like, yeah. So I don't even know why the hell I had this office. And then I was telling my other buddy, I said,
that's interesting.
Yeah. He's like, I don't, everybody wants to meet and be more comfortable in Starbucks, meeting, having some coffee, going to look at property, or just showing them property there. I'm like, well, the future is probably going to be Zoom too, with people wanting to, instead of even going to an office or a Starbucks, like you're saying, we could just immediately connect and you can, go through some things.
Yeah.
In your case, because you're a public speaker, do you think maybe, especially with the corona, that maybe you'll start publicly say at a university or anywhere where they'll put you up on a big screen, and now you're kind of like the teachers are doing? You think that could be the next phase for you? Because that's besides just having to personally.
I think so. It's going to be real interesting, Rich, to see how things kind of unfold as we get back to going to normal, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a while before we're all comfortable sitting side by side in a big auditorium. I don't know if that's going to happen in the next year. It just seems like until we get, some kind of, a vaccine or what have you for CV-19, I just think people aren't going to be all that comfortable, doing those kind of things. So I think it's going to change habits, and plus the cost savings is tremendous.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Prism. I think they canceled their big convention this year. Is that correct?
It's in Orlando. Yeah, they had to cancel. Yes, a lot of the conventions are closed right now in Orlando and Vegas. Obviously.
Yeah, they're closed. And so, what did they do? Now, every morning they have live from headquarters a Prism. A live broadcast of someone talking about what's going on in their world, and so it's different. It's instead of going to this big event, meeting lots of people, and hearing big auditorium presentations, you're now sitting behind your computer and getting updates from industry experts. It's more focused. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a combination. I think it's going to be eventually we'll get back to those big conventions. I think because it truly is about meeting people face to face. Like meeting you was one of the highlights of my BuzzPro career. How it's evolved over the years. Yeah. But I think that's still important, and that will remain important. But I think digital, is here to stay, and I think some businesses will completely change the way they do business, and they won't be going back to the way they used to do it before.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. I didn't want to pound you to death today, but thank you for answering some of those questions, man.
Oh, thank you, Rich, man. It's an honor.
Now, and thank you for always, sometimes you feel like you're kissing everyone's ass, but I mean, truthfully, you always responded to me, which, I go back and forth to a lot of people, but no matter if I sent you even material to say, hey, check this out for me, give me your opinion or whatever, you always responded, and you responded quickly.
Yeah.
Never someone who was, and I don't mean to say this, a lot of people pretend that they're so much busier than they are, right?
Yeah.
Or they play games like, give me a week, and then they blow you off for a week, or do this. And you always have the common courtesy to return an email so quickly, or even get on the phone so quickly. And I think that's what's so unbelievable about you.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Genuine. It's genuine, man. I say it all the time. You. And it's not only me, and a lot of other people know who you are as well. And
you made my month here, Rich. Thank you. Thank you very much. I worked with a CEO not too long ago, and he was looking for a job, and I was helping him. And I looked on LinkedIn, and I looked at his mail tab, and you know how you have those little red circles that say you have so many outstanding this or that you have to respond to. He was looking for a job, had been unemployed for over a year, and he had 198 unread messages.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a travesty. And many of them were from recruiters who had reached out to him months ago. So I get 300 to 500 emails or messages or LinkedIn posts or social posts a day. But by the end of the day, I've checked everything and I've responded to everything. And not too many people do that. A lot of people just skim through and, oh, there's Rich, I'll respond to him, but I'm not going to respond to the. I treat everybody as if they're all very, very important to me, which they are.
Yeah, and I think I kind of learned this with you too. When it came to LinkedIn, and I remember being at your when you were speaking, people hit me up a lot of times that were losing their jobs, and they knew I had a lot of connections. And they'd say, Rich, I lost my job. You're just going back and forth around LinkedIn. do you, and it happened yesterday, my buddy hit me up, one of my oldest and closest friends who I haven't seen in a long time. He became very religious. He's like, there's this guy out of Tampa, and I looked it up. I said, no, we just connected. We don't know each other personally. But he said, I'm looking for a job. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? What company are you thinking about? So you can kind of, being on LinkedIn and being connected to a lot of people, it's such a great way to help others, even if it doesn't work out, or if they're like, hey, Rich, I want to work at Verizon. It could be in retail. It could be in film.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, what are you doing next? I'm doing this type of film. Well, I know if you're looking for a certain type of director, producer, executive producer, try this guy. You can connect people.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, tell your friend to go to my buzzpro.com website and click on my speaking tab, because I have a list of all my free Zoom calls that are coming up, and have them attend one of those presentations. And then also, as soon as we hang up here, I'm going to send you a copy of my LinkedIn tips plus all my social selling training documents. Forward that to your friend.
I will. And I'll CC you on that too. I'll just for sure.
Yeah. And then have them reach out and connect with me.
Who does that? Who the hell does that? Unbelievable.
Well, Rich, you're a good man. Thanks for being such a great friend over the years. It's been I'm so grateful I met you many years ago. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, my man. Something led me in there, and I just went to, I usually go front row. I was a horrible student, so I got to get up front to pay attention. Either I'm all in or I'm out. With you, I was all in. I might as well just sat on your lap while you're doing the presentation.
It was amazing. I mean, you were up there by yourself. I mean, there was like 2 or 3 rows of nobody but Rich right in the front row. And I thought, that guy's got some, I won't tell you on this podcast what I said, but I said, he's got some guts, and I appreciate that very much, Rich.
Yeah, and I like to sometimes look the person in the eyes, especially if they're present, you know what I mean? I want to see if they're like legit, if they know what they're talking about, or just the whole thing. It's not a thing. It's just the...
Yeah, and you were in the front row, so I kind of picked on you a couple of times. I said, "Hey, Rich, what about how do you?" I remember that day like it was yesterday.
It was great. All right, my friend. Thank you, guys. You want to you already told them your website. Any other information you want to give?
Yep. Please reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn. Do a search for Terry Sullivan Dallas, and I'll show up on the first page. Send me a connection request, and when you do, I'll send you a copy of my LinkedIn tips document, which is chock full of a lot of the advice that Rich and I talked about today concerning LinkedIn and social selling. Then also check out my buzzpro.com website, click on the speaking tab. I present all over the country now via Zoom, and come join me. I'd love to meet you in person via Zoom, or give me a call. Let me know how I can help you. But Rich, thanks again for having me, man. You're a great guy. Man.
All right, I'll talk to you later, my friend.
All right, Rich. Thank you.
All right, take care, Terry.
Bye now.
Bye.